Oh, I'm so bored. I wonder when we're gonna get our next adventure. Someone once said that opportunity knocks.
You wouldn't believe what I found at the Science Museum of Western Virginia. Did you know that teachers could go in and borrow some of these education materials that they offer, like you do with a library?
That's so cool, but what did you get?
Here, put that on. All right, well, before I get into what all is on this cart here, so when you go out for a hike, let's say you're at Peaks of Otter or a local park, do you think about what's underneath your feet? No, not really, do we? Okay. So what is underneath our feet?
Where are you going with this?
What's hiding deep in the earth? Give up. Minerals!
What's a mineral?
I'm so glad you asked. Minerals are naturally occurring inorganic compounds that have a definite crystal structure and a definite shape.
Well, that's a lot of words in a sentence. I'm not sure I can picture that. Could you break it down a little for our explorers?
Absolutely. I have to do the same thing when I'm learning something new, just take it bit by bit. So naturally occurring means that it's a mineral we can just pull up out of the ground. So like this, I mean, it's not refined, but it has a definite shape, and it takes up space. So it matters. Minerals matter. We also have here today ones that you can actually see a definite crystal structure, like I mentioned. So this has, you can see the crystals on it. Now some of them you can see like this big, like this, like you can see with the quartz. Some of them are just really small, like this, like table salt. So you have to use your, microscope or whatever lens finder you have to look at it. Inorganic. Inorganic means that it's not made from living things. So things like, basically this is a rock, but we have also galena, which is made from lead and sulfide. And that's inorganic, it's not made from living things.
How about this lump of coal?
Okay, so coal, unfortunately, is not a mineral. It looks like one, kind of similar to the way you can find it, but it is made from living things. And to show you, I have marine fossils in limestone here, which actually, you can see where the fossils are, but what happens with the coal is that a lot of heat and a lot of pressure can make these organic compounds, these live creatures, go whoop into this little lump of coal.
So, how do we tell the difference between rocks and minerals?
I'm so glad you asked, because here we have a way to identify minerals. So we use something called a Mohs scale, and the Mohs tells us the hardness of rocks and minerals. It doesn't fully tell us the difference between them, but we look for other things such as cleavage, we look for luster, we look for color, we look for streak, and we look at how all of these different features tell us whether or not we can use it as a mineral or if we're actually going to build something from it.
So what tools do we need to do that?
Well, what I have right here is a basic mineral testing kit. So we use something out of that called a strike plate, which when you rub something against it, whether it's a rock or a mineral, you actually get little bits and pieces of that rock or mineral from it. And if you put it on a little glass, you could actually see it under a microscope. And with that, it tells us the color of the rock, so we can tell if it's sandstone or if it's soapstone or something different from that. And that's how we kind of figure out hardness, which gives us a lot of clues as to how the rock or the mineral break down.
Some of these specimens have very clear cuts.
Yes, as if a mineral that splits apart easily, it has a property called cleavage, which leaves a definite shape, when it breaks. So like quartz here, when you break it, it has almost like a shell type of feature on it. And I think that's it. I think we're just about ready to go.
Well, where are we going?
Well, it's a surprise. Plus, we have one more stop to make once we go through the magic door.
Okay. Ooh, what is this a picture of?
It is a picture that tells us the story of how minerals form. Minerals can form in two ways. through crystallization of melted materials, thanks to magma, from the Earth's mantle pushing through the crust that are found near and in volcanoes, or through crystallization of materials dissolved in water, such as mountain building regions, which is where we are in the Appalachian Mountains.
Crystallization?
That is a process where substances solidify into a highly ordered structure from a solution.
Awesome. But how do we find the minerals?
The mineral veins found here were formed by hot water mixing and separating minerals from the soil as the mountain was forming. These streaks of minerals look like fudge swirl ice cream and are called veins. Kind of like how our veins have blood cells. You can have several veins that contain different minerals in one area. Which brings me to our surprise.
That's right, you haven't told me where we're going.
When we step through the other side of our magic door, we will be in front of the History Museum of Western Virginia.
Oh, fun! I haven't been there yet.
Here we are. We're outside of the History Museum of Western Virginia, and there's a display in there we need to go check out. So remember that really cool display board I was talking about? Well, it's actually just this map of southwestern Virginia, and it tells us where the minerals were found. And this map is from 1881, so it's an old map, and I have to tell you a little bit more about it before we dig into to where the minerals are. So over here on this map, up in the corner, not all the way at the top, probably about over here, we have Roanoke. And we travel down through the New River Valley, down through Wytheville, all the way towards the tip of our map. West Virginia is up here, a little bit of Kentucky over here, Tennessee below us, and North Carolina as well, just so you get a good idea of where you are. So when you're looking at this map, you see that we have our mountain ranges, and I know we're in Roanoke and we're in the valley, and then we have the Piedmont all the way further down from that. But we can't just extract a mineral and say, it's perfect, it's a mineral, we can use it. No, we actually have to put it through a process of purification. And not all minerals are processed or purified the same way. Take, for example, salt, which comes from saltville. And you see on the dots here. And the cool thing about salt and even gypsum, again, they're located in the same place, is that those were extracted by heating water. And when you heat water, it starts to evaporate, and then you're left with these crystals. So that's a slightly different process than the other processes I described before when Peyton and I walked through the magic door. We also have other elements that we're looking at here, such as lead. So lead was also mined in this down here in Southwest Virginia. And we have a few other really interesting ones, but, oh yeah, copper. Copper's really cool too. So copper was mined only in a couple of spots. But the really cool thing about our mountains is that they're some of the oldest mountains in the world. So it shouldn't be surprised that we would want to mine them for their materials. And another thing, what gives us our red clay dirt is the amount of iron oxide that's in the dirt, which means that was a clue to the fact that we probably had iron ore, which is a lot closer to us and around the New River Valley area. Remember when I mentioned coal? Well, coal is a fossil fuel. So coal came from living things and is therefore not a mineral by our definition I described earlier. However, coal is one of the most important resources that had a major impact on the economy of Southwest Virginia. And coal is located, look at all these dots, look at all that lining up. And the thing is, since all this stuff is in the mountains, how are we going to get it to the big cities on the coastline where they want to buy these materials from us? So that is how the coastline and Southwest Virginia work together to get these materials to the coast. But in order for you to understand how we got them there, we're going to have to go to the Transportation Museum. So thank you for joining me today, explorers, and I hope you get to come down to visit the History Museum of Western Virginia real soon.
Wow, that rocked. I especially liked learning about all the fossils and minerals in this part of Virginia. It was really cool learning that coal is a non-renewable resource. I can't wait for our next adventure at the Virginia Museum of Transportation. Remember to visit centerinthesquare.org and click on the On Demand button for your free passport. Special thanks to the Truist Foundation for making these passports available to everyone who wants to explore with us. I'll see you next time, explorers.
Thank you.